This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. Investigations are underway into a deliberately lit fire which destroyed 4 garbage collection trucks at a depot in Mornington early this morning. The vehicles were used to collect rubbish in the Kingborough region, with some residents now forced to wait until at least Friday for their bins to be cleared.
Investigators spending today sifting through rubble after being called to the intense fire just before 5 o'clock this morning.
Brigade from Clarence and Hobart attended. They found 3 of the trucks mouldering and the 4th truck was on fire in the cab and in the rear, which was filled with recycling.
The blaze at the Mornington depot, now deemed deliberately lit, but just how will form part of an ongoing investigation.
There's no indication of forced entry or any unauthorised entry via the fencing.
The blaze within this truck behind me was so fierce, fire crews had to cut through the steel in order to bring it under control.
There was a bigger fuel load and harder to access. Obviously the cabins are quite easy to extinguish, but the rubbish in the rear not.
Graham is casually employed to drive them for a living, but as the main breadwinner in his family of 4, he's now at a loss.
5 days a week. I did, not now. It makes it really hard, because without this job, we've got no money to pay the rent. We have to move now. It's just hit home.
The damage bill is estimated at over $500,000, with the company now searching for replacement trucks. Residents in the Kingborough area may have to wait until Friday for bins to be collected, with ongoing disruptions expected. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
The worsening housing crisis has forced the state government to set up a summit as one of its first tasks following the election. The tightening rental market is leading to extreme measures, with a growing number of people living in tents at the Hobart Showgrounds.
This camp at the Hobart Showgrounds is a temporary home for the Reid family. They've moved here from Cairns but have struggled to get a foot in the door of the Tasmanian rental market.
Well, we've got to keep the hopes up and we've got to be positive about it. We know we have a good rental history and backing from previous real estates, and they're happy to back us up, and we're ready to move in. We've got a truckload of our furniture.
I see it every day, I feel it every day. The last thing you want to see is a kid crawl out of a tent and head off to school every morning. You know, just imagine what they're thinking.
It's stories like these that have triggered the government to agree to a housing summit next week as one of its first major moves after re-election.
There's an urgent need to bring different parties together, and it's not one person can solve this issue, and it's really important that we get a lot of different diverse voices around the table.
The Tenants' Union is reporting a rise in the number of people facing rent increases. Its statistics show median rents on Hobart's eastern shore are up $45 in the last year. Glenorchy's have risen by $30. Kingston's median has risen to $400. The rises are also being reported in other parts of the state. 3-bedroom inner Launceston properties have climbed by $50 in the last 6 months.
Many tenants are fearful. They're scared about telling their landlord about a rent increase. They're scared about asking for repairs. And that's because they're worried that at the end of their lease they may be evicted.
The Housing Industry Association says the problem stems from supply, and issues around planning, land releases and taxation need to be on the table.
The most important issue is that we see land that gets developed in the affordable housing close within the employment centres, and this is statewide.
A committee has been reviewing government land to identify areas suitable for housing development.
So we identified 29 feasible projects which could come to market very, very quickly.
But with winter approaching, the need for action is more immediate. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
The Royal Hobart Hospital is experiencing peak demand and remains at level 4 of its escalation plan. There are currently 17 patients in emergency department beds waiting to be transferred to a ward. A hospital spokesperson said this peak is due to an increase in patients requiring intensive care due to serious injuries and conditions. It's understood no ambulances were ramped. A man is lucky to be alive in hospital tonight after falling down an embankment while he was rock climbing in South Hobart this afternoon. Passers-by heard the man's pleas for help at around 1:30 and called emergency services. Crews worked for 25 minutes to rescue him from the precarious position.
He carried all the right equipment, he had some safety mats that were there, and so he appeared to be experienced. It certainly could have been worse. A fall from any height can be dangerous.
The man, believed to be in his late 30s, suffered a painful leg injury but is expected to make a full recovery. 2.5 years after a Flinders Island man was allegedly swept off rocks, drowning in Bass Strait, his family hope a new police investigation will uncover more answers. A coronial inquest into the death of Robert Charles Mansfield began yesterday, but was today adjourned, with the coroner saying more investigative work is needed. Our reporter Monika Dadson has the details.
Coroner Olivia McTaggart told the Launceston Magistrates Court that in light of new evidence, the coronial inquest needs to be put on hold. Robert Mansfield was last seen fishing off rocks near Polana on Flinders Island on August 8, 2015. The 42-year-old was fishing with another man from Lady Barron Island called Joshua Kennedy, who was 20 at the time. It's he that alleged Mr Mansfield fell into the water, never to be seen again. But today, counsel assisting the coroner said there are anomalies in the events of the day and it's important that these are probed, adding Mr Kennedy is a person of interest. The missing man's family were in court today. Mr Mansfield's brother says it's been a hard 2.5 years, especially given no body was ever found. Coroner McTaggart said because of the new evidence, it's only fair the inquest didn't proceed, saying there needs to be more work done to determine how Mr Mansfield died. Coroner McTaggart said police would prioritise the investigation, but as it is a complicated matter, she could not indicate when it would be completed or when the coronial inquest will resume.
Labor is calling for a full investigation into what it says is a fake troll scandal involving the Liberal Party during the election campaign. The Liberal Party says the matter has been fully investigated and that it was an isolated incident involving only one staff member.
The Premier has no option but to authorise an independent review into the behaviour of his staff, not just during the campaign but leading up to the election campaign. It is entirely unbelievable that neither Premier nor the Chief of Staff knew of the trolling activities that were being run out of his office.
The Liberal Party says all other staff members have been cleared of misusing social media and that they would like to know if the Labor Party could clarify whether any of its members hold fake Facebook accounts. 3 weeks of Spiegel tent shows are coming to Tasmania, kicking off on Friday. Workers are putting the finishing touches on the special Big Top ahead of opening night. A cabaret-style circus returns in Limbo Unhinged.
This is version 2 of Limbo. So we had Limbo here in 2015. So it's a bigger, brighter, bolder version of the show.
Something that you've never quite seen before. Something very different to the first show. It's more just colourful and exciting and vibrant.
It's officially the last meet on the Tas Racing Summer Carnival calendar, and on the eve of International Women's Day, it's an appropriate way to wrap things up. The 2018 Australian Female Jockey Championships, seeing some of the country's top riders go head-to-head. The event also attracting a strong crowd from interstate.
We're really proud of the fact that we're the first state to be hosting the national female titles. So yeah, we're hopeful we can make it an annual event and hopeful that we can extend this summer carnival calendar from the traditional Launceston Cup Day.
Tasmania's female jockey Sigrid Carr among those competing. Racing starts just before 7 and you can catch all the highlights right here on Southern Cross tomorrow night. After 2 intense days of racing and judging, the Nationals F1 in Schools Challenge is almost complete. 30 teams from schools across the country have been putting their miniature race cars to the test, being judged on the replica's speed and their engineering knowledge. But now the students' work is done, judges will spend tomorrow determining which team has the best car. The National F1 in Schools winner will be announced at an awards dinner in Launceston tomorrow night. It's considered Australia's most prestigious landscape art prize, and this year is no exception. With a record number of entries, organisers are describing the 2018 Glover Prize collection as the most eclectic yet.
As the finishing touches take place, one painting is already a winner.
For the 6 of us that are hanging today, we've settled on one winner for the Hangers Prize, which is a work by Kylie Elkington, which you can see behind me. A little bit of debate and a little bit of discussion, but we finally came to an agreement and this was the winning work.
The oil painting entry taking the Hangers' Choice Award for its unique take on Tasmania's landscape.
It's actually looking at the microcosm of a Tasmanian landscape, so rather than a large vista or a broad landscape that you might think of, this one gets us to slow down, pause and kind of look at our feet.
It's one of 42 pieces chosen from a record 105 entries this year, a collection described as the most eclectic yet.
I think that a lot of people are going to come out here and they're going to be wowed by this year's exhibition. We're very lucky with the judges that we've got this year, and that they're quite different in what they selected as their final pieces, and quite frankly I think they're going to have difficulty choosing a winner.
The Glover Prize will open to the public this Saturday until Tuesday and again next weekend. It's anticipated during that time more than 10,000 people will visit the exhibition.
This year we're pretty confident that we'll top that again because the number of schools that are coming through has increased very much.
Jessie Gilmore, Southern Cross News.
Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has fallen sharply after the latest economic growth figures showed a slower rate of expansion, and as uncertainty remains about the implications of US steel and aluminium tariffs. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 60.4 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 78.02 US cents and 82.39 Japanese yen.
To cricket, and the Tigers have one more day of play left to try and seal a victory in their Sheffield Shield clash with South Australia. Despite a second innings batting collapse from the home side today, the Tigers are still in the box seat with the Redbacks 1 for 49 at stumps, trailing by 281 runs.
7 wickets and 223 runs down when day 3 began. South Australia were desperate to prevent an early collapse, but Jackson Bird had other ideas. Kane Richardson and Nick Winter put up a fight to get the visitors past 200 before Rainbird ended Richardson's run, with Tom Rogers claiming the last scalp to see the Redbacks all done on 227. Looking to close in on victory, Alex Doolan and Jordan Silk quickly got to work at the crease, but when Doolan was trapped in front on 17, Silk was left to try and pick up the pieces, notching up a half-ton before becoming the next casualty of the day. Things unravelling for the Tigers' top order, with Webster gone on 18, Doran following suit and over later as the momentum slowed. In need of a lift, Bailey and Wade couldn't deliver, both gone for a duck with the Tigers in tatters. Rogers lasting just 5 balls, but Malenko wouldn't prove as easy to dismiss, belting a string of boundaries to get the Tigers back on track before the tail end was cleaned up at 164 to see Tassie leading by 330 runs with 1 day left to play.
And the stage is set for some fierce Lacca-Seljack Cup battles with a round of 16 fixture drawn today. It sees a healthy mix of NPL and Championship League sides battling it out, with the Newtown Eagles and Glenorchy Knights taking on former Cup winners Devonport and Olympia FC.
Seems like Olympia Glenorchy Knights will be a pretty tasty cup game, but we've also got a really nice spread, some home games up north as well, which is very important to us.
5-time winners South Hobart take on Clarence United, while Riverside will have their work cut out for them against Hobart Zebras.
It certainly has come of age, with the prize being the FFA Cup, and people are desperate to win it.
The Lacco Cup kicks off on Monday, April 2. It's the signing the Launceston Tornadoes have been desperate to secure, and now it's officially locked in, with last year's club MVP Lauren Mansfield returning to the club with some unfinished business for the 2018 Seabull season.
A huge weight off the Torn shoulders, but Mansfield didn't come easy.
She's a tough negotiator, so for the Tornadoes to actually be able to recruit her and keep her in the program, it's not an easy job, but that's a fantastic reflection on where Lauren's at and the depth of her skill.
The club's most consistent performer over the past 5 years, Mansfield's hard work was rewarded with a call-up to the Opal squad last year. More recently, the point guard has been honing her skills in Poland.
Huge piece to have her. You need experience on the floor, and she's a true leader. So if you want to win a championship, you need a true leader at your point guard. So she's the answer.
It'll be the first time the new Tawns coach has worked with Mansfield, having spent the past month developing local talent and preparing to implement his game style for the upcoming Siebel season.
Oh man, we're a little up-tempo pace, a little Golden State Warriors style, you know, up and down, shoot the ball, but also got to play some defense as well.
Mansfield's signing rounds out the Launceston list alongside fellow imports Ali Wilson, Lauren Nicholson and Michaela Roof.
For our younger players, being able to look up to and be amongst, you know, Lauren and Michaela is a fantastic opportunity.
Mansfield is still contracted to play finals in Poland, which may see her miss the Tawns opening round clash against Kilsyth on April 7.
And Launceston-born Chris Goulding has been named in the Boomers side for next month's games on the Gold Coast.
Good evening. Hobart and Devonport 21 today. Launceston, Fingal and Bushy Park all on our high of 26. Fine, clear and sunny today as temperatures skipped above the average again. Ooze, Friendly Beaches and Cressy 25. Grove and Campania 24. St Helens and the Islands 23 today. Low Head and Strawn 21. Lyawini a top of 20 after recording our low of 2. There is some low-level cloud over coastal areas of New South Wales and southwest WA. A little bit more, in fact, well, it's a large bit of cloud over Queensland and New South Wales, while the rest of the country mostly cloud-free. And just some cloud over King Island today, while there was a little build-up of cumulus along a few mountain ranges this afternoon. Tomorrow the high remains over Tasmania, a large footprint over the mainland. A trough is way west of that with another over the top end. Light and variable winds over most waters, 5 to 15 knot southeasterlies over the west coast. East to northeasterlies at a similar speed over northern waters. For Hobart, possible morning drizzle, 22 the top, 21 for Cygnet with a bit of cloud, cloudy for New Norfolk, fine and 25. Launceston, bit of fog about, then a sunny day, 26 the maximum, 26 also for Campbelltown, sunny for Devonport 2. For Burnie tomorrow, mostly sunny and 22. Strawn 22 and Smithton 23 degrees. St Helens sunny, 22 degrees, 22 the top also for Swansea. Early fog departing from Fingal to a sunny 25 in the afternoon. There's the UV dropping to 6 for Hobart, but still in the high range. Very high UV for the rest of the state. Friday, fine and mostly sunny with light winds and afternoon sea breezes. Fine again on Saturday as we see the temperatures warm up somewhat. A shower on Sunday for the south and west, but fine for most of the state. Warm over Sheffield with not just the sunny weather, but all the steam from Steamfest adding to the mix as well. Nice numbers tomorrow for Perth and Adelaide. Sunny in Melbourne. Cloudy for Sydney. A shower for Brisbane and a storm with heavy falls over Alice Springs. And of course, clear conditions at the moment, 17 in Hobart, Launceston 22, Devonport currently 19 degrees. What about Tom Cooper in sport referring to you as a queen, Joe, when we know you as a real princess?
Thank you very much, Merv. That's all from the team for now. Thanks for your company. We'll see you a bit later. Bye-bye.